Alright, what's up everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the LA Clippers, man. Last night, they had a great game against Oklahoma City Thunder. We're talking about that game, but also talk about the Clippers, because I feel like they are the most scariest team in the NBA right now, and get on to why I think that is tough in this video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications to all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. We're on the road to 500 subscribers, so if you do like the content, hitting the subscribe button would mean a whole lot to me. Like my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that in the description down below. And yeah, I don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So first, we're going to talk about the game last night, the Thunder and Clippers, second game on TNT. By the way, the first game, Sixers Nuggets, was an amazing game. Shout out to Joel Embiid. MVP type performance. That was a great game in itself. But the Clipper and Thunder game was the game I was really interested in. You know, Thunder being one of the best teams in the league. The young team kind of coming up and being kind of like, you know, the new top team in the league. The Clippers, of course, being the veteran team, but still, you know, they're dominating. So I wanted to really see this game. And the LA Clippers eventually ended up winning this game 128-117. Paul George puts up 18 in the fourth quarter. Finishes with 38, 7, and 5, shooting 6 for 12 from 3. Kawhi and James Harden both also have 16 points. Westbrook has 11 off the bench. Mason Plumlee, 14, 5, and 3 blocks. He's back now that Zubac is going to be out for a little while, so Mason Plumlee's back in that starting lineup role since coming back from injury. But this Clipper team, as no secret, obviously we all know, they've been one of the best teams in the league recently. After acquiring James Harden, they lost their first 6 games, and since then, they've been insane. Now they're 26-14. They're 4th in the West. They're only a game behind the Nuggets and Thunder for that second seed. And they have been just absolutely on another level. Talking about last night's game, love to see the fourth quarter, how they kind of saw Paul George at the high end, and James Harden and Kawhi were like, all right, go ahead, Paul George, you got it. And Paul George took him home. This Clipper team is really, really scary, obviously, honestly. Like, this team is super scary, and it's a team that, if I'm in the Western Conference, it's getting to a point where I'm kind of hoping I don't have to match up against the Clippers. Because this team is figuring it out, and it's getting really dangerous with how well they're figuring it out, playing together. You know, of course, you come in, they first trade for James Harden, they go on that little losing streak, and it's like, you know, it kind of makes sense now looking back on it because, I mean, obviously James Harden is an important piece to this team, and you don't just bring him in and it's like, all right, everything's going to work out smoothly right from the get-go. You know, there's kind of some gelling period you have to go through. James Harden also didn't play first like month or two of the season, month and a half, so it was like, all right, you know, get him into shape, and then also get him acclimated into the system. And then you also have Harden, you have Kawhi, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook, who Kawhi and Paul George are both trying to get. Both are still all-star, superstar-like players. So they're like, all right, I got to get my own, or I got to, you know, be the star because I'm used to being that. Russell Westbrook as well, in there kind of being like, all right, well, I'm still trying to prove that I'm good. So it's like a lot of different things going on. And, you know, Tyron Lue had a big challenge on his hands as a coach. But now, as time has gone on, they've kind of figured out how to play and how they play, and they've been one of the best teams in the league now. You know, bringing Russell Westbrook off the bench. Shout out, huge props to Russell Westbrook for being the guy taking initiative and being like, you know what, I see where this team is going. I'm gonna come off the bench and I'm gonna be the energy guy off the bench. You know, and he's kind of been the team leader in a way as well. Like, I feel like he's kind of been the guy pushing everybody. You know, he's been kind of the leader again, taking into his own account and being like, hey, I'm going to come off the bench so that James, Kawhi, PG could do their thing, and I could come off the bench and help the bench unit and do what I do. And he's been really, really good, even though, again, his numbers don't look like anything spectacular at this point in his career. It's the impact, watching him on the court, on both ends, being engaged, you know, having this role, and how he transitioned to this role has just been great. So huge, huge props to Russell Westbrook. But this team is just, yeah, they've been playing really good. You know, James Harden has kind of found where he fits in to this team, being kind of the main ball handler, the facilitator, you know, getting everybody involved, which he's used to doing, while also, you know, still being James Harden that can still shoot threes and score and get to the free throw line and stuff like that. But yeah, James Harden's kind of brought that point guard. I feel like the last few years with the Clippers, one of their biggest holes was having a stable, steady point guard that can get everybody in line, you know. Besides the injuries, obviously, the point guard was a big hole in this team. They didn't have anybody that could be like, all right, let's settle down in the offense, let's get a good shot and do that stuff. You know, the last few years they've been in talks with, like, they brought in John Wall to try to do that. That didn't work out. Rondo, when he was older, didn't work out. They tried to trade for Malcolm Brogdon in the offseason. That didn't work. Brought in Russell Westbrook, and he was doing that, but he's a different type of point guard. And then now James Harden they finally found it in James Harden, who's one of the best point guards, ball handler, facilitators in the league, and he's been doing that at a great level, And then Kawhi and Paul George get in where they fit in, They still play like, and they're still. It looks like they finally kind of found the totem pole of like who priorities of like who's gonna be able to take this shot, who's kind of the main guy, stuff like that. And I feel like Kawhi and Paul George kind of been bouncing back and forth. They kind of have been playing the hot hand in a way. It's like Kawhi Leonard some nights, because Kawhi Leonard was on a big hot streak recently before he missed a couple games, and now he's starting to get back into the role. But Kawhi Leonard's still a superstar, dang near top 10 player when he's healthy. And Kawhi has had his moments where it's like, all right, Kawhi, it's your time to shine. And then after like a game like last night, where they clearly were like, all right, Paul George is hot, give the ball to Paul George. Like Kawhi Leonard only took 10 shots last night, 6 for 10. Paul George took 24. And I won't be surprised if another game or next game, Kawhi Leonard's the one taking 25 shots and Paul George is only taking 12, 13. Because that's just how they've been playing. They've been divvying it up and like, all right, whoever's got it going in the fourth quarter or late in the game, when it's close, all right, they get the ball and everybody else just do their thing, And it's good because Paul George can be a guy that can play off the ball, can catch and shoot. We saw it a lot in last night's game, even though he did take a lot of shots. And in the fourth quarter, he was kind of taking matters into his own hands. During the game, he was just catch and shoot threes, and he was knocking them down. Kawhi Leonard, he's a guy that, of course, you want him to have the ball in his hands and want him to go create, but he also can be a guy that he's been catch and shooting pretty decent this year, and he can also be a guy that you can give the ball to with like 4 seconds left, and he can just pump fake, get into the mid-range, and hit a shot, like easily. So those two have just been doing great. James Harden has been doing his thing, and then the others, the role players, have been really just like the freaking cherry on top to this team. Norman Powell has been one of the best six men in the league this year. He's been shooting the heck out of the ball. Now, last night he didn't have a great shooting night, but Norman Powell's been shooting the heck out of the ball. He's just instant offense off the bench. He gets to do his thing. He comes off the bench and just takes the corner threes or transition threes or gets to the rim. Like, he could just instantly give you 15, 20 points a night, which is huge with this team. Even though they have a lot of offensive scoring anyway, it's like, dang, we have to guard Paul George. We got to worry about Kawhi. We got to worry about Harden. Now we got to worry about freaking Norman Powell dropping 18 off the bench. And it's like, how do we guard that? Again, Russell Westbrook off the bench has been big energy. Zubac just being the solid big man, getting boards, blocking shots. Him, the pick and roll with James Harden now has been working, So that's a huge thing. Terrence Mann kind of being the connector, which thing I talked about, or that was talked about a lot when they first made the trade for Harden, and it was kind of like they had the 4 in the starting lineup, and it was like, I think we need to put Terrence Mann or someone else in that lineup that could just play a role. That could just be a guy that's not afraid, doesn't care about shots or stats or stuff, is just going to come in, bring energy, and be a winning player. And Terrence Mann has done that. He's come in. He's actually been shooting really well from 3 as well since the new year started. But he's just been kind of like the connector of this team. He's been kind of the guy that's like, all right, he only took 6 shots. He only took 3 shots, but that's all right. Because we're not worried about Terrence. We're not, counting on Terrence Mann to give us 15 points. We're counting on Terrence Mann to defend and, get some steals, pass the ball, rebound. Like, we care about him to do the other things besides scoring, because we got a lot of scoring. But we need Terrence Mann to come in and be the kind of the energy, fill in the gaps type of dude. And he's done that very well, while also giving you some good 3-point shooting as well. Since 2024, he's been shooting pretty well from 3. So that's big. We got a guy like Mason Plumlee, who's back in the lineup now with Zubac out. Mason Plumlee does his thing. Last night he had a good game, 14-5, shot 5 for 5, 3 blocks. Even though he kind of lost his minutes a little bit in the rotation because he was injured, and then Daniel Tice came in, and he's been doing a very good job. But now Mason Plumlee's a guy who's high IQ center that also could be kind of like a ball handler in himself, and rebound and block shots, do stuff like that. And yeah, they just have been really good. Shout out to Tyron Lue as well. He's been one of the better coaches the last few years, because the last few years, he's had basically different teams because Paul George and Kawhi have not been healthy the last few years, and Tyron Lue has had some success considering the circumstances with Clipper teams that shouldn't be as successful as they have been. And he's been putting guys in the right position, no matter what he has on his team, who's out of the lineup, who's in the lineup and stuff, he's been making it work. And now this year, he had a big challenge on his hands on putting James Harden into the system and having kind of 4 stars a little bit and kind of trying to divvy up. It didn't start off great, but now, it's really going great. They're figuring out rotations, figuring out, how to play together. He's putting in good plans, and they've been one of the best teams. So shout out to Tyron Lue for that as well. But like this Clipper team is super scary. You know, like going into a series or going into the playoffs against like anybody, they have a fair shot against anybody. To be honest, like in the Western Conference right now, if the season were to end right now, they would put the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. And even though Luka is a Clipper killer, every time Luka sees a Clipper logo or a Clipper jersey, he drops 40. You know, and he's an amazing player himself. And guys like Kyrie, Tim Hardaway Jr. been stepping up. The Clippers, man, the Clippers got the team to beat the Mavericks. You know, even though you're probably not going to beat Luka, as long I think you got to just sacrifice. Hey, as long as we can stop anybody else, as long as we stop Tim Hardaway Jr. from hitting 6 threes or Kyrie to go absolutely insane and stuff like that, they got a chance. Obviously, I think I probably would pick the Clippers in that series. You know, a team against like the Pelicans or the Kings, it will be a tough one, but I would pick the Clippers. You know, just because I mean they have the star talent and they have the defense as well. It's not just offense; defensively they've been one of the best teams as well, which is a huge thing for this team. Guys like James Harden and Westbrook look like engaged in the defensive end. You know, and that's a big, big thing. If you could have those guys be engaged on the defensive end, you know, along with having Kawhi and Paul George, two of the arguably the best wing defenders in the league, and then you have Harden and Westbrook trying and getting steals and blocks and stuff like that. It's like, dang, like how do we really beat this team? You know, and then I guess the Thunder, Timberwolves, less experienced teams is gonna be a good battle, but I would pick the Clippers. I think honestly, I think like the only team I would pick in a series over the Clippers right now is the Denver Nuggets, and that's because they're the reigning champs, and you know they just look really good. Even though they lost last night to Philly, it's like they still have Nikola Jokic, which I don't know how the Clippers are gonna really stop Nikola Jokic because they don't really have. I mean, Zubac and Plumlee, Daniel Tice are solid defenders, but let's be honest here. It's Nikola Jokic. You know, he's the best player in the NBA right now, arguably. You know, and the Nuggets just have that chemistry and that connection and that cohesiveness, and they just went through a long playoff run when they won a championship. So you got to give the respect to the Denver Nuggets, obviously in that sense. But a Nugget Clipper conference finals or anything like that, I would pay good money to see that because I feel like that would be just a huge battle. You know, that would be a battle. That would be a battle, especially on the defensive end for both sides. Because for the Clippers, you don't really have anything to stop Nikola Jokic, but then on the Nuggets side, like how do you stop both Kawhi and PG? You know, I mean, you probably put KCP on Harden, Aaron Gordon goes on Kawhi, and then you got Michael Porter Jr. calling Paul George. Okay, you know, after something what Paul George did last night. All right, cool. You know, like I just feel like the defensive matchups in that game would just be super interesting to see how adjustments are made by the defensive end by both coaches and stuff. That would be a great battle. But again, that's a long way down the line. We're thinking way too far deep. You know, we're about halfway through the year, which, by the way, look out for tomorrow's video because tomorrow's video I'm doing a video talking about every team halfway through the year and just like saying things about them, you know. So, you know, if you like that video where I'm talking about everyone or talking about your favorite team, check out tomorrow's video. But no, this Clipper team is dangerous, man. I think the only thing that stops them, of course, has been the thing that stopped them every year, which is injuries. You know, this year they've been healthy. Kawhi Leonard's only missed a handful of games. Paul George only missed a handful of games. I honestly don't think James Harden has missed a game so far, and neither has Russell Westbrook. I don't think so. They might have missed like one or two, but I don't think they missed any significant time. None of them have. The only injuries they've sustained is Mason Plumlee, and then now Zubac is going to be out for a few weeks. But they have the center rotation. They have Mason Plumlee and Daniel Tice, who has been doing pretty solid. So, yeah, man, this Clipper team is dangerous, man. We're figuring out, and we still have a lot more left to go. You know, this is only kind of the beginning, in a way. And now that they have just re-signed Kawhi Leonard to a big contract extension, 3 years, 152, I want to say, fully guaranteed. They're working with Paul George right now on trying to get him an extension. James Harden came out yesterday and talked about how he wants to stay in LA with the Clippers, which, you know, coming from James Harden is not something we take seriously anymore. But still, I mean, the Clippers are trying to make this a long-term thing because, again, before the Kawhi contract, all of them were going to be up for free agency after this season. Now Kawhi is staying. It looks like Paul George is probably going to stay. Maybe James Harden could sign an extension. We don't know about Westbrook. Maybe he just takes another low salary cut and is like, you know what, I'll just stay here because it's my best chance to win a championship. And at this point, like, this Clipper team's going to be around, hopefully, for a while, you know. And this is only the beginning. You know, they still have a few months left in the regular season where they can, you know, kind of get more acclimated with each other and stuff. And then when it gets to playoff time, it's going to be really fun to see how far this team goes. Because honestly, this is the best Clipper team that they've had in terms of trying to win a championship. I feel like this team, the cohesiveness, the way they're playing right now, it's gonna be tough, really tough to beat them. You know, and and all we can do right now is just wait and see how it plays out the rest of the year. But this is a very scary team. Yeah, it's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, also like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.